Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wax Wednesdays podcast with Wax Romantics. This is our very first episode. It was filmed on January 2nd, 2022, over Zoom. In this episode, we introduce ourselves since it's the first sode. We talk about our holidays, we talk about the band Phish, and we review albums by Suede, U2, Thrice, and our friends, the Velveteers. We also talk about Buddhism. Don't have anything to plug right now. We should have some information about upcoming music and shows here soon. But in the meantime, you could go and listen to our back catalog if you're so inclined. Anyways, enough rambling from me. Let's go to the episode. I sincerely hope you enjoy it.
Waxy Wednesdays with Wax Romantics.
Hell yeah. It's dropping out a little bit. Oh yeah. Can you pause it for a second? Sorry, Julia's talking to me.
Yo, we got Newt out here.
Yo,
Yo. He's scared. He's scared now.
His head disappeared there for a second.
Yeah, it's the background. We all got the same background. I like it.
Yeah, we all got the same background. Holy shit.
Looks good.
Good timing. Good luck.
There we go.
Oh, here's
What's
Cam.
up, guys? Oh
What's
my
up?
gosh.
Way to not
Howdy,
have a
boys.
matching background.
Yeah, dude. Cam
Dude, how
has
do you-
some shitty Dell. Your PC probably couldn't. Are you on your PC?
Yeah, I'm on my little Dell.
It probably couldn't support a virtual background.
Sorry, fellas. I'll be the outlier here today.
No, that's fine.
You're good. You're
It doesn't
good.
need to be that cohesive. Okay. Well, all of us are here. So let's go ahead. Let's open. I thought a lot about like what the intro should be, and it just seems super weird to like pretend anyone's listening right now or that anyone might ever listen. But so I'll just pretend like the four of us are just talking. Okay.
Okay.
So, welcome, guys, to the first installment of the Wax Wednesday podcast with Wax Romantics. This podcast is for the four of us, the ones who do indeed comprise Wax Romantics, to come together and talk about music and just whatever else is going on in our lives and have a little bit of a laugh. So, you know, maybe we'll have guests later on, maybe not. Maybe this episode will be such a colossal failure that we never do another one and never even put this one out. My only real concern is that this one is so successful and that the show becomes so successful that we're remembered as better podcasters than we are musicians. But I guess that
There's
wouldn't
a
be too bad.
strong chance. There's a strong chance.
So, but that wouldn't be too bad. So there's really nothing to lose. But anyways, so I'm driving this one. I think how it's going to go is we'll kind of swap off who organizes each one, but I'll do this first one. So I thought since this is our very first one of these, we could start by telling everyone our name, our age, and what we're wearing right now. Does that sound good?
Sounds
Okay.
great.
I'll go first. So my name is Colin. Obviously, I'm 49, and I actually wore something. I don't know if you guys can see my sweater. I actually wore some podcast merch, which I thought
Very
I never
nice.
thought I'd own podcast merch, but this is from the show Bad Friends. Have you guys heard of that podcast? It's with two comedians, Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino.
I don't want to derail you right off the bat, but
No,
I
no.
just started listening to podcasts like within the last month. Everyone's been saying for like years, like, you need to listen to podcasts. They're the shit. And I just started. So you asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have known. But now I know that that's a podcast.
Now you know? Have you listened to this one? Oh, you know
Listen to one
it's a
episode.
podcast. Okay. But you haven't listened to it?
One episode.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. And this is a good time to point out we're doing this on Zoom. So We might have internet issues. I'm having one right now, but we'll work past it. We're doing it live.
Sounds good.
Yeah, is my Bitcoin mining in the background gonna affect
yeah.
the-
That might affect yours.
Yeah, I'm pulling $3 a day, so
Oh, hell yeah, that's worth it.
no, I'm really
Worth
not.
it.
No,
Less than that.
it's expensive. Yeah. Anyways,
Keith, you want to go next? Your name, your age, and talk about what you're wearing right now.
Keaton, 37, and I have 2 nipple tassels in, but they're hanging so low it'd be tough to show. So
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Nice one.
Yep. But they're painful. They were super painful. So you're welcome that
Sacrifice.
I did the sacrifice for this podcast. It was super painful. Anyways, though.
Don't pretend like you did that just for the podcast. You had this.
Yeah. I had one of them in for
weeks.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, they've been in for weeks. You mean years? But yeah. Yeah. And by years, I mean
Julian.
decades.
Yeah, I'm Julian. I just turned 12 this last month. The big one too. I'm wearing a hoodie.
Number 12.
And I'm wearing a shirt under my hoodie and no pants, no underwear. Figured why bother?
Nice.
There's no point.
Even socks?
Yep.
We're talking socks?
Yeah, I don't think any
No,
of us
I'm wearing
are.
socks.
I have socks.
My feet would be really cold. Yeah, if I wasn't wearing socks.
You'd
Yeah,
have to be a
something about-
psychopath and not be wearing socks right now.
That'd be weird. That'd just be weird.
It's some Ted Bundy type shit. Yeah.
And last and also least in this case, Cam,
Oh,
why don't you go?
My name's Rod, and I like to party. I'm just kidding. I'm Cameron, aka Baby Wax. I will be the only one to say my legitimate age, 24. No, I'm just kidding. But I am not wearing socks.
Okay.
I knew
That's
I
good
didn't
enough.
have to.
All right. I thought that segment went well. Did you guys like it?
Yeah, that was great.
I disliked Colin saying I was both last and least, but apart from that, it went well.
That'll probably happen a lot more in this episode, Cam, because I have many more segments and you're going last in all of them.
Good, because I probably brought the worst album to review also.
Okay, sweet. All right. So we actually already, my next segment, we touched on this a little bit because Julian just mentioned it, but I mentioned I listened to the podcast Bad Friends. I wanted to ask you guys what podcasts you listen to. If you listen to podcasts, Julian just started.
I listen to a lot of That's Cringe and various other Cody Co, Noel type
Cody
collabs.
Co.
Yeah,
You showed me
like
him a little bit ago.
Yeah. So I'm kind of on I also listen to like a lot of history style. I listen to Armchair Historian the most, but which is some weird, wacky, basically they fantasize different military, like just basically to get in a bunch of like fantasy military type. It's very eclectic type podcast. You guys probably listen to
I've
more.
heard that one. No, I dig that one. Have you heard of Hardcore History? It's
No. I'll look it up.
Who does it?
I think
Yeah, check that
Hardcore
one out.
History was what I listened to first before Armchair Historian.
Yeah,
All of
Yeah,
them
so-
slap though for the some of their reenactments, kind of where they'll take a bunch of information from different people's war stories and kind of put them into one, because a lot of them are, you hear like 80% of a lot of people's recounts from war are over exaggerated because they're fucking getting shot at and scared and stuff. So like half the time what they're saying is like they were just fucking scared. So I feel that.
Yeah.
I'm adding Hardcore History to something I need to watch. Shit looks crazy.
Yeah, check that one out.
Thank you.
Julian, what
thank
else
you.
have you been listening to?
I just started listening to Smartless, which is like I guess pretty well known
Jason
podcast.
Bateman.
Yeah, Bateman and Will Arnett. which honestly, Bateman and Arnett, if you're listening, feel free to be guests anytime. We would be totally okay with that.
Yeah, I don't want Sean Hayes on though. I don't.
Sean Hayes,
he brings the energy down on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched Will and Grace, to be honest, so maybe I just don't get it. But yeah, he's annoying as fuck. Sorry, Sean Hayes, if you are watching.
Shots fired.
But they interview a bunch of people that I really like, and I really like that it is all over the place. They interview actors and comedians and musicians. I was just listening to the Rob McElhaney one, which I love Rob McElhaney and Always Sunny. So
they have a podcast now too, the Always Sunny guys.
Yeah, I honestly just binged that whole podcast as well because there's not too many episodes of it yet. But man, they get derailed so quickly, so entertaining, and it makes me laugh so hard. And yeah, really, honestly, other than that, I've just been listening to What the Fuck with Maron, which is just
with Mark Maron.
Straight interviews, really like cohesive,
Classic.
Cut deep interviews. Yeah, that's an old school podcast. It's been around for a long time, but he's got so many great guests on, and also all over the place too. But I feel like he goes for a lot of musicians that are like overlooked in the mainstream, and so those are the episodes I really like. And it's a more cohesive podcast than most of the other ones out there. It's not just like, hey, let's ramble about shit for an hour. It actually has a point A and a point B, so it can be refreshing sometimes.
Yeah, right on. Okay, and last and least, Cam, what podcast do you listen to?
My gosh, you weren't kidding.
Don't say Joe Rogan.
I was going to say Joe Rogan. That's not Joe Rogan. But not too often. I just listen to like more.
You eat a lot of ivermectin too there, Cam?
Ivermectin.
When I can fit it in.
Did you take Alpha Brain before this one to make sure you're sharp?
I did.
Right on. Cool,
yeah,
cool.
I drank my G Fuel too. No, but I just like the Joe Rogan. I like when he has because he has some pretty cool celebrities on. Like he had Elon Musk. He had
Elon Musk smoke that blunt too.
Yeah, he smoked a blunt on there. I was just listening to a Snoop Dogg one yesterday morning. He had a Neil deGrasse Tyson one that was like 4.5 hours. That was pretty awesome. But also
Neil deGrasse.
Yeah, that was a good one. But on that same note, have you guys ever seen the Stuff to Blow Your Mind podcast? They just talk about like.
Oh, you told me about that.
That one's really good. It's just
haven't seen
science theory and science theory. A lot of music stuff's on there too. Just a lot of fun facts. They have a couple musician guest artists and stuff like that. And then there's one, I can't remember the name. I think it's like Behind the Reel. It's like a behind the scenes movie podcast where they just have on directors and stuff and kind of interview directors and stuff. It's really cool.
Well, good segment.
What about you, Colin?
Oh, what podcast do you listen to?
Yeah, what are you on?
Oh yeah, you didn't say anything, Cole.
Bad Friends, obviously. And then what else have we listened to? So I recently I finally did the Audible subscription thing. So I've been rocking audiobooks lately as my main form of audio consumption. But I listened to Bad Friends. I've been listening to Smart List with Julia. That one's fun. This is my favorite. And this actually technically isn't a podcast. It's an internet radio show. There is a difference, and it's often overlooked. But
what's the difference?
Some might say that internet radio is a more ethical form of media.
Okay. Are you some?
Yeah. No, this one's it's on Apple Music. It's Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend has a internet radio show on Apple Music called Time Crisis. And
yeah, you told me about that, I think.
Yeah, it comes out bi-weekly, and I listen to.
I never heard about that.
Yeah, it's really it's great. You have to have an Apple Music. What'd you say?
Nothing.
I think you said something disparaging about it, but I'm going to overlook it. But you have to have an Apple Music. You have to have an Apple Music subscription. So it is classist in a way. So in that way, it's not a more ethical form of media. And it is under the Apple umbrella, which is kind of an evil
super
empire.
Ethical guys.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself into a hole with it. But Squarespace doesn't advertise on it, at least.
Is that a
But
Twisted Tea?
Wozniak, literally, he owns you after you watch one of those.
yeah.
He owns you, like your firstborn at least.
Mm-hmm. You do have to give him permission to your camera while you're listening.
And your
to
firstborn.
And your firstborn. Yeah. But yeah, those are, and then I'll listen to like one-off podcasts every once in a while, like history podcasts or whatever's out there. Russell Brand actually has a podcast. I don't know if you guys are into football, what Americans would call soccer, but he has a podcast where he follows the Premier League. And I'm like a pretty casual soccer fan, but I enjoy keeping up on the league. And it's fun to hear Russell Brand talk about it because he's a very entertaining
Russell Brand's
person.
a funny guy.
Yeah.
I was just watching Feeding Sarah Marshall like just last week or 2 weeks ago, I think.
Nice. That's the classic. Okay. So that was that segment. Lots more segments coming up. But first, should we do our first advertisement?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got sponsors?
Yeah. And Julian, I actually thought I'd let you take this one. This one is a vegan eggnog company called Well Egg. Johnny's Well Egg. It's completely vegan, ethically sourced eggnog. Meant to be drinking and enjoyed by your family during the holidays.
So you just want me to get a little spot going?
Yeah. Oh, there was one thing. Putin is a major shareholder in this company. So there has to be some sort of Soviet twist in the ad too.
Okay. Well, I love Putin's work. I don't know if that is enough of like a tie-in, but shout out to Putin. Honestly, he's a solid dude. Love his style.
I think we all agree we all love Putin. Yep.
Yeah, shout out. I'm not a big shirt guy or whatever. Love horses. Love enslaving my people for my own gain. I love all that. So I can feel Putin for sure. So I think not a big eggnog guy generally because I know that it's not ethically sourced. That's like my thing. The chickens are like abused. They get the shit beaten out of them. They're slapped. They're told it's not cool. The chickens are hurt on a regular basis. So ethically sourced eggnog, it tastes better. They're not stressed out from all the abuse. So you can really taste that in the product. They actually have a no nog all egg product. It's just 100% raw egg, and I'm a huge fan of that too. So shout out to them, and thanks for sponsoring.
To just sell eggs. Yep.
Yeah, just raw eggs in a carton for drinking, whatever. Yeah, I'm all about it. So
I get my eggs from Keaton, so I can't.
Ooh, yeah, and they're not even real chicken eggs. Those are eggs. Opossum. That's just a possum.
That's why they're so big, huh, Keats?
Yeah, and they're not even eggs. They're just kind of embryos.
Keaton nests those himself, yeah.
Yeah, they're super poisonous though. So I think they're what's the damn it. The poisonous.
You're drinking eggnog right now, aren't you?
I'm drinking eggnog. Yeah. Now I'm just looking up shit online.
Anyways,
right, so what else?
Thanks to Johnny's Well Egg for sponsoring. If you want to sponsor the show, you also can. If you have a product to push, just reach out at contact@waxromantics.com. We're extremely cheap. We don't prepare at all, obviously, for ads before. So, all right, the next segment is I just wanted to ask you guys how you doing. Keaton, how you doing?
Like I feel like a warm piece of butter on a big old slice of pancakes melting.
Cool.
Yeah.
How were your holidays?
Jolly, startling. Did I say startling? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's weird that it's 2022. I'm already tired of it. So yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Twos.
Yeah, it is a too heavy year.
Yeah.
Julian, how you
anyways.
doing?
I'm all right. How old are you guys? You both 24,
I think I said
25?
49.
Oh, what
I'm
does it say
49.
on your fake ID though?
15. I have my fake ID to
Oh.
get into Young Life.
Uh-huh. That's
Oh
weird.
yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Well, anyway, I turned 25 like right before Christmas, and so
Yeah, man. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, not to make it all about that, but it's weird turning like what I would say is like a landmark age, because 23 and 24 and even 22 are kind of like bullshit ages. No offense, Cam. There's nothing to look forward to. But 25 is like, quarter of a century, and you either have something for yourself or you don't. And I don't know. Also, with the holidays right next to that, it's just existential as hell sometimes. But this year, I think we skated by just because the pandemic and everything. Didn't have to interact with anyone I didn't want to interact with. Just laid low and faced my existentialism by myself. And now I'm chilling.
Right on, dude. Yeah, I turned 25 in September.
You're
I'm
old.
older than you. Yeah, but we have my kind of landmark age is 33. That's of course the year that Christ died. So as long
It's a good
as
one.
I've performed some miracles by then, it's all good. Cam, how are you doing?
I'm sorry. The Zoom is doing something weird. Give me 1 second here. Okay, I think I'm back. But I am doing great. I'm not looking forward to break being over. And, all my buds are back in town, so it's nice being able to see them. But it's all coming. I'm very grateful for ski season, though, man. I was super bummed that this season was off to such a shitty start, but now they got like 3 to 4 feet in some places in the last week and a half. So pumped about that. Panoramic opened yesterday. Cool stuff.
Nice.
What about you, Papa Wax?
How have I been? How have I been? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next segment. So my next segment is actually multimedia. It is a video segment. I hope this shares well over Zoom. Let me.
It's letting me do all this crazy shit, so it better.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, I tried to, and my thing almost crashed.
I can raise my hand and show you guys a picture of an ant.
What do you think the ant's for? Just people who
when you're
ants?
in a meeting? Well, we don't know. We could be archaeologists or like animal biologists sending each other, like animals.
That's like a scientific diagram of an ant for people who don't know what an ant looks like.
Whoa.
Yeah, or just a quick representation of an ant,
Can you guys see my screen?
Are we watching Borat?
No, it's not Borat. So this is from a YouTube channel I like a lot. It's Channel 5 News. It used to be called All Gas, No Brakes. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen
Andrew,
one.
right?
Yeah, so this guy's Andrew Callahan. This one came out the other day, and I watched it, and it takes place at a Phish show in a Phish parking lot. So I thought it'd just bring up some interesting discussion. Before I show the video, I don't think we've ever really talked about Phish as a band. Where are you guys on Phish? You ever listened to Phish? Have you ever been to a Phish show? Are you guys even Phish heads?
Actually, Tori, who's one of my best buds, he went to a Phish concert back in September. and
no one's seen him since.
Yeah.
We wish, but no, I'm just kidding. But I could not have been any more relieved that I was missing a Phish concert, among all things, because normally we go together, but since it was Phish, no remorse. I'm not a fan.
Not a fan. Okay, Cam's not a fan. Keaton, Julian, were you?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Cam on this one. They are not good. I can respect the musical talent, but nothing can put me to sleep faster than a Phish guitar solo or keyboard break, whatever it is. It's just boring, dude. It makes me age faster, I swear to God. And also, if you are one of those people that says you like love Phish and it's like, oh, they're your favorite band and you follow them around the country and like, nah, dude, you just like doing drugs. That's all it is. You just like getting fucking stoned in public. And I mean, I love that as much as the next guy, but just do it at the park or like at the elementary school, the local normal freak. You don't have to do it at a Phish concert.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty much where I lie. Also, Trey Anastasio, that dude's worth more money than like so many people, and I just don't get it. I hate him.
That's not a very kind vibe to be worth that much money. Keaton, where do you fall on Phish?
I'm in the same boat as Julian. Like, I like doing whippets just as much as the next guy, but like, it's so short, and you're like, that didn't increase my intelligence for very long, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that analysis of whippets. I have a sort of fascination with Phish. And kind of all jam bands, especially Grateful Dead. I've always I've never like called myself a Deadhead or Phish head. And it would take so much to get me to a Phish show. Like, it'd have to be under pretty ideal circumstances. Like, no way am I paying for a ticket. No way am I driving. If it was in an arena, it'd have to be like a box seat with a ton of access to food and water. And
whippets.
Yeah, whippets. And no way am I staying for the whole thing. But what does kind of pique my fascination is the parking lot culture around Phish, and in that the drug culture. So this video focuses on the parking lot scene. Let me play the first little chunk of it. Hopefully you guys can see this okay, since we're streaming over Zoom, but I'll go ahead and play it.
A little weird, but I love them a lot. But I don't understand them at all, to be honest. I listen to the lyrics, and I have no idea what they're talking about. They drop albums, it's all a lie. It's 100% one song. I think it's one song.
Wow, there's more than one song.
Hooked on crack in 1982.
Oh my God.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They're just, you go to a Phish show, you're just there to do drugs in the parking lot. So, I mean, why does it have to be Phish? Why can't it just be the laundromat? Oh, I have to do laundry today. I'm just going to go get fucked up in the parking lot of the laundromat. Why's it got to be a Phish show?
Yeah, why put more money in Trey's pocket?
I do. You go.
To bring it all back around to Putin, Trey is single-handedly funding Putin's whole operation. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure at least 3 of the dudes featured in that video went to high school with us.
That was meth. That was something fueled. That was scary. That last guy, dude, he looked like Santa Claus, but like no presents.
He did bring up an important I liked that. I wanted to pick that clip because I thought it'd be a good segue to Reaganism and the war on drugs. I do think
Tackling a lot.
Reagan introduced crack into inner city neighborhoods in the 80s. And
Yep.
Nancy Reagan actually got me hooked on diet pills, which was really bad. Cam, you remember that?
But you look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look kind of emaciated still. My hair finally grew back. I spent
You have the quads of a horse.
It was like
though,
Requiem
bro.
for a Dream. Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, well, naturally, but the diet pills, I gotta say they help everybody's quads. I think that's why people do it.
Yeah, that's what they do. The fat from everywhere else goes to the quads.
Goes straight to your quads. I think it's like some SpongeBob shit. You remember when
that's right.
Squidward eats it goes straight to his thighs? It's like that. We could pull up a picture. I could pull up a picture. It's
yeah. Why don't you pull up a picture of that?
The beautiful segue that you wanted.
I wish I had.
Yeah, this is good.
We need to get a guy for that. Yeah.
No, I actually have more video to share. Let me
please.
Let me go to this is from the same clip, just a different part of it.
Yeah, I'll send you the
Channel 5 Live, bro. I'm trying to tell you, I got the gas on it. I'm outside everywhere, every show. Look for me, Jay. I'm on the lot and I shut it down. You hear me?
Good gas ain't cheap and cheap gas ain't good. If it's not bigger than your head, it won't put you to bed. We got the best gas on the line. Hey, my man, I hope going on.
If you get that cheap bullshit out here, you die. You hear me?
Is there a point at which someone has done so many balloons that you're going to cut them off and be like, no more?
No more.
No. Huff till you die. Huff till you die.
Fish out!
You've never cut anybody off in the history of balloons.
No.
Not even Jerry Garcia.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, it's the baby, right?
Your sticker is the baby inside of the Grateful Dead logo.
Well, aren't we all? Hey, the baby. I just met you tonight. You seem like a pretty good guy when your sticker was put on my shirt.
I
had to buy a couple stickers.
I don't think that the guy that put that sticker on you was the baby.
So I liked that one.
What the hell?
Yeah, I liked that.
Everyone is so
chunk.
sweaty too.
I liked that chunk because it shows the power of Phish and how it brings people together. You obviously had a lot of people from different backgrounds. You had
so many balloons.
Yeah, like one of our dads was there. One of our dad's friends thought he had met the baby.
What?
There's a lot of weird
guys doing nitrous and
Yeah, I think it goes like Phish people, and then juggalos are pretty close. But they're just not wearing face paint, It's like that weird.
I actually suspect, although juggalos kind of have a harsher interior and they seem like kind of a rougher group to get
really
in
nice.
with, I suspect that once you're in that community, there's probably not a more like supportive.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's closer than you'd think, and it's like a music thing. The music's still pretty marginal, but yeah.
Yeah.
All I have to say is that if you do so many whippets that you have beads of sweat on your forehead, then like
slow down.
Hats off to you, dude. Hell yeah. That's what it's all about. And also, there's no way DaBaby knows anything about Phish. Like, right?
No. He might know the Grateful Dead.
Fish sticks and like fish fillet sandwiches, but like not Phish, the band.
Yeah, I know. He might know a little bit about the Grateful Dead or be familiar with their iconography because of the presence in fashion they have now. Like a ton of brands do Grateful Dead collabs and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if DaBaby had a casual awareness of the Grateful Dead, but definitely not Phish. Although he could surprise us. He's a music industry professional. It could be that him and Trey are, hanging out on the weekends.
Yeah.
I hope not, for so many reasons.
Yeah, that'd be a rough hang. Super rough vibe. Keaton, I see you raise your hand on the Zoom. Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, here. I just found the shrimp emoji.
Excellent.
I love Zoom for that reason. Why
know.
would you need that because Colin, you're working mobile in a tech legit job, and do you use that? Do you use
Wait,
that
look,
function
there's
ever?
a speed up button. Speed
Yeah.
up. Go
Yeah, I know
faster.
that.
Hurry up.
I've been so tempted to use the speed up button before, but I've never
Yeah,
used
to your
it.
boss, you're just
Fired,
like,
man.
hurry the fuck up.
Come on, go. Yeah. Speed up.
Fuck it up.
Hurry it up. Yeah, no, it's funny, Zoo. No one really ever uses. Sometimes people do a reaction like a hand clap or something, but that's about as far as it goes.
How do
But
you
I like
away?
that you're.
Okay.
I don't know. I like that you're using so many of the features right now because this will hopefully draw people over to watch the YouTube version instead of just an audio version of this. And I think that would be a more interesting view.
Yeah, no, and we might get sponsored by Zoom. They'll be like, wow, these guys really utilize our features.
This podcast is brought to you by Zoom.
As Colin literally freezes.
Oh no. Yeah, sorry, I'm having internet problems. Anyways,
no, it's all good.
Let's move on to the next segment. So this next segment, this is the one segment I told you guys about beforehand because you needed to come prepared. But our next segment is album reviews. So I think this would be a cool one to have in every episode. This one is random. It's not like we picked a certain genre or artist from a certain time period. But I thought we would just go around. We all picked one album that we spent some time with before this episode. I thought we'd just go around and talk about which album we chose to review and then give our review of said album. I guess I'll go again first since I'm hosting this episode. And the album I chose to review, I actually have a physical copy of. Can you guys see that? Okay, with the Zoom background. Yes, cool. This album is called Dogman Star by the band The London Suede. And I recently purchased it at a record store. I thought it was cool because it's the first album I've gotten that is clear vinyl. Can you see that? The vinyl's totally clear. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anyways, a little bit about the band. I call them the London Suede. Interesting, that's really only what they're referred to as in America. They were formed as Suede and are called Suede in most contexts, so I'll just call them Suede from here on. But Suede was formed in London, as you may have guessed, in 1989 between, I think, like 5 people. The singer's name is a guy, Brett Anderson, and the original guitar player was named Bernard Butler. And they would end up becoming one of like the big 4 of Britpop, along with Oasis, Blur, and Pulp. And you guys know me, I'm a huge Britpop guy, which is actually like maybe that'll be my next episode that I host, is a Britpop dedicated episode. But anyways, they released their self-titled debut in 1993. And then this one came out the year after in 1994, Dogman Star. And 94 was kind of like probably the peak year for Britpop. A lot of great albums came out of that time. But interestingly, this was a really dark time for the band Suede. I think there was some substance abuse going on. They're also sort of struggling with the trappings of fame and whatnot. And there's a lot of internal strife. During the recording, the original guitar player, Bernard, left and was replaced by Richard Oakes. And from my impression, it was just kind of a generally bad time for Suede. But despite all of that, they still managed to release what I think is one of the greatest albums of the Britpop era, and dare I say, even one of the best albums of the 90s. I usually do have an affinity for albums that were recorded under like pretty miserable conditions like this one was, and still came out sounding as good as it does. Like it's always amazing to me when every member hates the other and doesn't talk to them. and they're hardly in the same room during recording, and at least one member is battling some sort of like horrible addiction. But the album still comes out sounding good. Maybe that's because personally I have to be in a pretty healthy state of mind to be creative at all. And like any recording we do, I feel like it has to be under pretty ideal conditions. It's hard to work under strife. But anyways, the album is great all the way through. But it's so captivating to me, actually, just because of the first side of the album. This one's a double LP, so 2 discs. But the A side, it's the first 4 songs introducing the band. We Are the Pigs, Heroin, and The Wild Ones is one of the greatest openings to a record ever. It just has a really amazing sound, some really dark themes throughout the album, amazing songcraft, and Brett Anderson, the singer, has one of the craziest and coolest, most unique voices of any singer in the 90s, really. So that's my review of the London Suede's Dog Man Star. I'm going to give it a 9 Waxys out of 10 Waxys, only because I can't blow my entire load by giving it a 10 out of 10 on the very first album review, because then there's really nothing left to beat it. But yeah,
to your point about recording in non-ideal conditions, can you maybe hear how maybe recording in non-ideal conditions influenced that album in some way?
Yeah.
Or is it kind of just kind of like a blanket over all that shit, like it's a happy album? What's the vibe?
It's definitely a dark vibe, dark lyrics, like sonically, because I feel like on some albums like that, if you dig deep enough, you can almost hear like a guitar part was recorded in like New York somewhere and just sent and like dubbed over the drums. So like production wise, it does sound like a cohesive album. So you can't really get a sense of it that way, but you can definitely tell they're dealing with some shit from just the lyrics, and there's just kind of an overall gloom over the record. And the lyrics and everything, like I don't know how well you guys can make out this album cover, but it's like pretty striking imagery. It's like this super gray drab room, and a guy's just like kind of lying, almost looks dead on a bed, naked. So yeah, it's a dark, gloomy album for sure.
I love those.
Yeah. Keaton has his cat Newt for our audio listeners running across the screen.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that, Colin. I like that take because it's fascinating to see how weird, because emotions do play a lot into the recording process. It's fascinating to take that aspect. I like that.
Yeah. I guess if you could, like, if I wanted to go deep enough, but obviously this would all be speculation. But like, I guess you could say like a lot of the takes, like there's so many guitar solos on the album that are done so dramatically, and like there's like a poetic quality to it that someone does just feel like they're like, bearing their soul on the recording. But anyways, I highly recommend listening to the album all the way through if you haven't. And you and I, when we went skiing before Thanksgiving, I played a few songs from this album because that was right after I bought it, and it was on heavy rotation for me. Yeah, great album. Who wants to go next?
Definitely gonna check it out. I want to hear Cam.
You want to hear mine?
Yeah.
May I ask why?
I want to know what album you picked.
All right, so I was going back
going second and least is Cam.
Oh, when I was in the group chat earlier, I noticed that Colin and Keaton said they were choosing older albums. So I was gonna choose a newer album, and I had settled on Donda, but then I was like, I can't bring Donda onto the first Waxy Railroad podcast. So I thought about it, and one album from when Colin and I were little that honestly was like pretty influential to me was The Joshua Tree by U2. So I brought Joshua Tree on 1987 U2 album.
Strong choice, Cam. Strong choice. Good
Thank you. But when we were kids, our dad, Colonel's dad, was in a band called Tribute To, pretty creative name there too, Tribute To. And I remember like there were posters all over, and like dad, I think they did like coasters or some shit made of like the Joshua Tree image. I don't know if you guys see. I'll hold it up. Like the U2 kind of standing sad face there, looking head on. And our dad would always dress up as the Edge, like wearing the whole hat and shindig and stuff. So, and the album itself is absolutely phenomenal. But I remember like when they would do a show, like 60% of their material was right off this album. Like they have Where the Streets Have No Name, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, With or Without You, Bolt the Blue Sky. Those were all, like In God's Country, all very monumental. Probably in the U2, or in all of U2's top discography, those are probably pretty high up there. So I thought that'd be a good one to bring on instead of fucking Donda. But overall, I'd also give it, like Colin said about Suede, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 album, just because I don't want to say 10 out of 10 for the first one. We'll give it a 9.5 for the nostalgic factor of the album.
Right on.
Donda's dope.
Kian chats Donda is dope. That's great. I said we hadn't talked about Phish at all in the band, but U2 has been a heavy topic of discussion in our rehearsals and everything because we're all pretty big U2 heads. Cam, where does Joshua Tree sit in their discography for you? You said obviously that's some of the most iconic songs, but would you say that's your favorite U2 album?
I would say that's my favorite U2 album. And I would add that the nostalgic factor does play in because, like I said, Dad was playing so many of those songs. Kian sends the shrimp emoji. But
Ian's dropping emojis in the chat, and it doesn't a notification comes up from Zoom and doesn't show the emoji. It just said :croissant, fried shrimp.
That's awesome. But I would say for me it's their number one album. And I think, I don't know, it's one of their older ones. Like for a band to have their hit, like arguably their most hit album in 1987, and then they're still releasing stuff in 2019. It's pretty incredible. Like still relevant, so it's not watched.
I think a really strong testament to U2 as a band is just the fact that we got 4 pretty different dudes sitting right here that all listen to like pretty different music on a regular basis, but one of the few bands that we all can connect back to with that like nostalgia feeling is U2. Like that's a staple that I would say a lot of the people our age and obviously everyone before us just grew up with U2 as a household name, a household band. They had their own unique thing going on that really started with that album in 87. But just the fact that they have been releasing music, but that is the staple for, I would say, like most people who grew up and are our age now. That's pretty monumental.
Yeah, no, great point. It was around the when they did that album that Apple put on all their phones pre-installed. U2 hate was heavy then, and that was a tough time to be a U2 fan. And you had a lot of people who didn't understand their place in musical history or the significance they have jumping on the bandwagon, who were just upset that it was appearing on their phone without them having a choice. And yeah, that was a weird move. And I wonder how they feel about that in hindsight, if they'd like still back that. Probably not, yeah. But I feel like we've I remember having to defend U2 to so many people then. Even like people who were hip with music and did know U2 were really hating on them then. And I think that subsided now. Yeah, Cam?
Would you also say that part of that, like your defense, was because of Dad's, like growing up with it, Dad's heavy influence?
Yeah, I did. I had a more sentimental attachment to U2 because of it was like, a lot of the first songs I learned on guitar were U2 songs because of Dad. Like my first experience with audio production was like mixing covers of U2 songs. Yeah. But even before I got super into music and like understand the history of music, I did kind of have a natural respect for them and kind of knew like it's a pretty like seminal group there who's responsible for a lot of great music and a lot of the culture around music now.
Major cultural shifts.
Yeah.
Whether you love or hate U2, you have to acknowledge the huge cultural shifts around them, especially in the late 80s when they changed how a lot of people viewed music and musicians and the industry at large. It was pretty big for all of us.
Yeah. And my favorite U2 are those, like, I love the, like, very, like, post-punk, you know, young U2. Like, I love those early albums. But yeah, it does another testament to them, along with what Julian was saying about all of us liking U2, is they could have easily disappeared into kind of the fog that a lot of those great, like, post-punk UK and Ireland and Scottish bands did. But they rose to be obviously one of the biggest bands of all time. So yeah, definitely. Well, Cam, good review, dude.
Thanks, man. Julian, what did you think of it?
Good album. I'm glad you didn't pick Donda, because I would have
Yeah, that
fucking ripped it up.
that would have derailed this one. We should probably have a Donda. No, let's not have a Donda episode. I don't know why I even say that.
I think
Donda.
Yeah. Keaton, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I was debating on what I should pick because I was dancing around with a few ideas, but I thought it would be appropriate to talk about, since this is like a good friend of you and me, Colin, the Velveteers Nightmare Daydream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was incredible. I left the vinyl at Jamie's house. I should have, but it's amazing to see how far a band like that has come, both like creatively and because, you know, like we played shows with Demi and Baby when they were 15 and 16. They couldn't even drive a car, you know, and now they're doing so well. And I was going to highlight my favorite song was Brightest Light. Have you guys seen that music video by chance at all?
I don't think I've actually seen the whole. I saw like I don't know if they posted a trailer from it or just like little clips, but I saw clips of it at least.
Yeah, there's like I'm just looking it up right now. It's like, but at 104 and at a couple other spots, Demi is sitting on this swing set in the middle of the desert. And do you remember Ozzy, Baby's dad, Colin? Uh-huh. He built this swing set in the middle of freaking nowhere for this music video.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I know. And that was just something cool I wanted to share. I just thought it was so funny. So here, I'll send you guys a picture really quick to the chat. But it's hilarious. It's like a full-on swing set in the middle of nowhere. Crazy. But anyways, yeah, so and the musicality on the whole album, it's produced by Dan Auerbach, you know, from the Black Keys. So it's some of the tones on the album are incredible. It's super fun. And I'm happy to we need to go to a show. We need to play with them someday. So
yeah, that'd be rad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Velveteers, great. Colorado bands. Keaton mentioned when Keaton and I were in the band we were in high school, we played with the like early incarnation of the Velveteers a lot, and they've stayed together. That was like 2013, 2014.
Yeah, we played their very first show with them, which is incredible.
Yeah, it was some fun. My favorite show we played with them was in that hookah lounge in Denver.
That was their first show, yeah.
Was that their first one? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we had played with them before. Yeah, that was fun.
And then we played, they opened, I felt bad at that point, but they played with us at that place on South College, the showcase
room. Yeah. That was
fun.
Good one too.
Anyways, yeah, so but the whole album just musically is incredible and the songwriting is incredible, and I really respect a lot of the drum tones are a lot more like live feeling, and I initially was like, they're not heavy enough, but like they're super, super, super clean and super tasteful. And I think that's kind of what they were going for overall. And I think that's one of those things you got to respect the creative decision of, if you want to rock the fuck out to, you can go to a concert.
Yeah.
You know, it's like their album's easy to listen to. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Cole?
Oh no, I was just gonna agree with you. The drums is a good point because they are like nuanced, and it is like, I feel like with a blues rock band, like a fine line to walk, because you do want sometimes like the heaviness of drums, but then with that sort of music, it could be so easy to sound like just kind of overproduced and like stock. You know, like,
yeah,
if the drums are too full. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
I'd say it's the hardest to find that fine line with drums, honestly, between sounding live and in the room and fake and overproduced.
Yeah, totally. I know it was obviously, like when you're young, or Julian, you being a drummer and like a great drummer and natural percussionist, probably always paid attention to drum tones and music when you were young. But you know, like, I feel like for the casual listener, and this was my case for a while, you know, it's just the bass and drums in a song are kind of there, you know, and then like you're paying attention to, like, you know, melodic shit and vocals and stuff. But then I don't know, once you get into music, and especially learn about recording, I got so like fascinated with drum tones and like which album had weird drums. And yeah, it's probably the most like fundamental decision to make on any recording. It's like, what's the drum sound going to be? But anyways,
very true.
Ian.
Very true. Yeah. Thanks.
Good call bringing the Velveteers. Shout out Velveteers. Definitely listen to that album if you haven't yet. And oh, dude, that'd be a strong guest to get Demi and Baby on the pod.
Yeah. And Johnny, you know, you guys have to meet Johnny too, because I was about to share his Instagram to you guys too, because he's a really nice guy as well. And that's the keyboard, auxiliary guitar, auxiliary vocal player that they brought in, and he's pretty awesome. He's really good.
Okay, rad. All right, dope. And Julian, I'm anxious to see what Julian has picked. I'm excited.
All right.
Julian.
Well, okay, so I kind of took an easy route, but also I kind of didn't at the same time. I had the same thought as Cam. When Colin and Keaton said they were going with the old school records, I decided to go with the new school record. And I was kind of tossed up about like what to review. So I just went to my Spotify, like my Wrapped, and wound up going with my top album from last year, which is the new Thrice record called Horizons East. And I mean, I wrote like a whole lot of notes, but basically I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. It was engineered by Tepe Teranishi, who is the guitar player for Thrice, in a home-built studio during the pandemic. They produced it themselves, and it was mixed by Scott Evans, who is a good friend of the band and also just like a known metal producer and overall solid musician. So just like, it felt like a record that they just made for themselves, which was honestly really refreshing because the Thrice trajectory has been kind of all over the place. And I know you guys aren't like big Thrice guys, but for anyone that might be listening and interested, Thrice took like a pretty lengthy hiatus from like 2011 to 2015. And then they came back with the record in 2016, which was kind of in a new direction for them, a little bit more like in a mainstream rock kind of arena. And then they put out another record in 2019, which was also a bit more produced for the Thrice boys and just kind of like...
Is that Palms?
Yeah, Palms, yeah. So, and Palms is a great record, but they definitely put a lot of studio magic on it. And I think they went crazy with the experimentation in the studio and in the post. And so this record was really like a return to form. I feel like they focused a lot more on ambient, just natural instrument sounds and vocal sounds. There's a lot less overall production trickery, but I feel like it leads to a more refined overall end result. And just since we're talking about drums, I'm a big drum sound guy. And I feel like Thrice, in my opinion, as a drummer, which doesn't mean much, Thrice has consistently had like the best drum tone in rock since like 2008. And there's just been this kind of like upward trajectory of them seeing like how far they could push it and all the different ways they could take like a good solid live drum sound. And this record just feels like a solid culmination of all of the past efforts like put together. The drum sound blows me away. And the bass and drum like ambience and performance together is also rock solid. The bassist and the drummer of Thrice are actually brothers. And I feel like you can kind of, in a weird way, like hear it when you listen to them play together just because they're very foundationally sound. Like I don't think a four-piece has like a better rhythm section these days than Thrice, to be honest. And then, yeah, just as far as like the themes of the album, I mean, this year was like pretty tricky for all of us, I would say, with the pandemic and just a political minefield of a life that we're all navigating together and also individually at the same time. A lot of the lyrics on the record just feel more so kind of accepting of the world that we live in, while also kind of still accepting that there's a lot kind of messed up about the world at the same time. So there's angst that shines through when it really needs to. And then there is happiness and beautiful resolution when there needs to be. I was just going to say the best song to that end on the record, in my opinion, is the song Dandelion Wine. Because it starts really bluesy. There's a lot of blues and jazz influence. And it's pretty dark, but it resolves on a really strong upper, just major chord. And the lyrics are kind of also at the same time, you know, accepting that the character in the song like lives in a delusion and that they're okay with the fact that, you know, things aren't all going super okay, but they're doing what they can to cope. So I just feel like that's a really solid like end note for record. And just as a Thrice fan, I feel like they've outdone themselves, and it's really refreshing to see a band that's been around for so long and also taken a hiatus really truly challenge themselves and put aside what they think people want them to do and just do exactly what they want to do for themselves and produce it the way they want to produce it. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for that. Yeah.
Right on. Thanks, Julian. It was a very thoughtful review. If you had to rate it out of 10 Waxys, how many Waxys would you give it?
I'm probably also pretty strong on like the 8 to 9 Waxys. I think giving anything a perfect 10, I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect record, to be honest. There's only like 1 or 2 records that I've heard in my life where I have thought like I wouldn't change a single thing. There's definitely things I would change about this record. But also, like Heaton said earlier, you have to just respect the creative process and realize that these dudes made these songs for themselves. And as long as they achieved in their goals, that's what music's all about. And also just kind of being a band that evolves. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about songwriting as an overall idea, but it's really boring in my mind to like write the same song over and over and over again for like years. And a lot of artists seem to just put themselves in that box where they're just like, this is what we sound like now. And they don't push themselves to like change their overall sound and their overall ness and how they write songs and how they communicate as a band. I just feel like those are crucial things to do. The process has to change in some way over time. Your relationship with your songs has to change in some way over time. Otherwise, it's just going to get stagnant and be kind of boring. So
Totally, I agree. I've always kind of been on the periphery of Thrice. Like I've always known them as like a cool band to be into, and like I've listened to probably like all of Thrice. I haven't heard this newest album, but I think I've probably heard almost all of their music, but I've never like gone as deep as I should have with it.
I was just going to say, being a Thrice fan on like the inside, I feel like also they're the most maybe polarizing bands, as in people either fuck super hard with them or they really don't like them at all. And I think it's just because they also have always been really strong in their convictions, which is just to say they've always done what they want to do. And it's not necessarily conventional. And also there's a huge, I think, delusion of around Thrice is like they're a Christian rock band, because technically they are. And a lot of his earlier lyrics are about like religion and specifically like Christianity and his relationship with that. But also I feel like, and this is just a personal opinion, I feel like all those words are open-ended enough that you can change them into a story about yourself or your life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about religion or God, because I know not everybody is super into that, and that's fine too, but just don't put up the blocker of like, oh, Thrice is a Christian rock band, so therefore they suck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of the greatest songs ever written have been about religion. But yeah, so I always like was aware of Thrice as a cool band to like, but this to bring it back, Julian, to the Always Sunny podcast. The last episode I listened to, they actually mentioned Thrice, because I think it was in Charlie's apartment. Maybe they had
They're
a
in the
Thrice
bar.
sticker. Oh, it's on the bar. Okay, yeah. There's a Thrice sticker somewhere in the bar. And in the podcast, they said they had a bunch of Thrice fans hitting them up early in the day, being like, "It's dope, you guys are like into Thrice," and like putting the band out there. But really, like, it was just a set decoration. None of them knew who Thrice was.
Yeah, and Howerton
I remember. Just go ahead.
I was going to say, in that podcast, Howerton says like, hopefully that boosted Thrice's career in some way. Unless Thrice sucks, in which case, fuck Thrice.
Yeah. I was like, you haven't even heard them yet? You'd think you'd put on a Thrice album then if people were hitting you up. But that's okay. But anyways, great reviews, guys. I enjoyed that a lot.
Thank you, sir.
I definitely would suggest that everyone go listen to those albums if they hadn't yet. And let us know what you think if you're so inclined, if you agree with our reviews. Well, this will be our last segment, you guys. And for this segment, I thought it'd be good to leave our listeners off with some philosophy that may be able to help us through.
Ooh, I love riddles.
It's not a riddle. Common misconception that philosophy is the same as riddles. But that's okay, Cam. But this bit of philosophy is
I'm not going to.
From God damn it, I'm so angry. All right, sorry guys, just taking a breath there. This is from my favorite school of thoughts / world religions, which is Buddhism. I've had a fascination with Buddhism for a long time now. But this book I have today is one of my favorite books on Buddhism. It's called Why Buddhism is True, The Science and Philosophy of Meditation and Enlightenment by Robert Wright. I have it right here. Robert Wright is a psychologist, I believe, and in this book, he takes kind of a pretty practical and scientific look at Buddhism and kind of breaks past the mysticism, trying to explain why its core tenets are effective beliefs to kind of implement in our own lives, and why a lot of modern psychology and just like our studies on what a healthy mind state is stuff that Buddhism has already uncovered. So a lot of the beginning of the book talks about our feelings, a big part of meditation, or any mindfulness practice really is sort of to detach yourself from your feelings. You don't really repress bad feelings or force good feelings to arise. You just sort of picture you're in a green grass of your consciousness and looking up at the sky, and you observe the feelings that pass by as you would observe clouds. Clouds don't really mean anything. We don't let them dictate anything in our lives. They just sort of happen, and they're not permanent. And so a sort of implied conclusion that comes from this is an implied philosophy in Buddhism is that our feelings are really just illusions. And this sort of sounds easy to accept, I guess, and maybe even a little benign that, of course, our feelings are illusions. But when you really think about it, it does have a lot of deeper implications, because if you think about it, that means really all of our reality is an illusion, because pretty much everything in society and in our personal lives are in a way a result of the way someone was feeling or the way yourself was feeling. Like recently, if Mark Zuckerberg didn't feel so inadequate and didn't put so much stock into that feeling of inadequacy, he probably wouldn't create the metaverse. We wouldn't have to live our lives in some like shitty postmodern Huxley-esque quasi-real, half-fake virtual reality detached from all meaning and human connection. So anyways, enough about my feelings of the metaverse. And
our final segment, just a metaverse discussion.
Yeah.
This was all build up. The Buddhist thing was just build
up. But anyways, so chapter 3 of this book is called When Are Feelings Illusions? Like I said, he had been talking about our feelings a lot early in this book, and he kind of summarizes here in this chapter with a recap of what he calls our levels of delusion. So level 1, our feelings weren't designed to depict reality accurately, even in our natural environment. Feelings were designed to get the genes of our hunter-gatherer ancestors into the next generation. If that meant deluding our ancestors, making them so fearful that they see a snake that isn't actually there, so be it. This class of illusions, natural illusions, help explain a lot of distortions in our apprehension of the world, especially the social world, warped ideas about ourselves, about our friends, our kin, our enemies, our casual acquaintances, and even strangers. So that's the first level of delusion. Level 2, the fact, and this is, I'll preface this by saying this is my favorite level of delusion. The fact that we're not living in a natural environment makes our feelings even less reliable guides to reality. So he's kind of saying, feelings are illusions. Maybe there's a purpose for them. Maybe they help us out in some ways. Definitely when we were like hunter-gatherers living in caves and such, it was good to have feelings of fear because there was a lot to be afraid of, and it would help to carry genes into the next, to pass your genes along. But now that we are so detached from our once natural environment and live in this crazy world, our feelings are even more pointless than they were before. So feelings that are designed to create illusions, such as seeing a snake that isn't there, may at least have the virtue of increasing the organism's prospects for surviving and reproducing. But the modern environment can take various kinds of feelings that served our ancestors in this Darwinian sense and render them counterproductive in the same sense. They may actually lower a person's life expectancy. Violent rage and the yearnings of a sweet tooth are good examples. These feelings were once true, at least in the pragmatic sense, of guiding the organism towards behaviors that were in some sense good for it. But now they're likely to mislead. So our once useful feelings, illusions, you could call them, are now even more misguided and are actually counterproductive to the purpose they once perhaps served. And then finally, the third level of delusion, underlying it all, is the happiness delusion. As the Buddha emphasized, our ongoing attempts to feel better tend to involve an overestimation of how long better is going to last. What's more, when better ends, it can be followed by worse, an unsettled feeling, a thirst for more. Long before psychologists were describing the hedonic treadmill, the Buddha saw it. So those are the 3 levels of delusion from Robert Wright's Why Buddhism is True, the Science and Philosophy of Meditation and Enlightenment. And I really hope that you guys liked that bit of philosophy. What did you guys think of that? How do you feel about Buddhism, about our feelings? Yeah.
It's definitely all true to a certain extent. Like, the things that we feel now were once things we felt for totally different reasons. And our world has evolved faster than like our species can keep up with that. And I do feel like that's why people have a lot of anxiety, especially in a younger age, is because it's like we always feel like there's something we're supposed to be doing. Because in a larger sense, there was a lot more we were like responsible for just to stay alive, not super long ago in the grand scheme of things. But now we have everything given to us on a silver platter. So our feelings, I feel like, have not been able to catch up with that reality at this point. So that's a super interesting thing to be told from like a scientific perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's an age of anxiety, and yeah, we have so many genetic programming that just has no use at all in a lot of sense. Keaton, how do you feel? I feel like you're a very naturally. I feel like since we've been young, you've been able to recognize feelings as illusions. You very much live on the periphery of society and often what it would be called societally acceptable. And I feel like that is because you have such a deep relationship with the Buddha and the illusionary nature of everything.
Well, thank you. I was a good, you bringing that up really kind of evokes a lot of like, yeah, where do all these angsty emotions come from when you're in this age period? And that's a really good point that you made, Julian, where, yeah, we were probably like hundreds of years ago supposed to be really hustling. And it's not like we're still hustling, but it just in different ways now that may not be killing animals. So yeah, thanks for, I appreciate you sharing that with us, Colin.
In a way, I mean, there didn't used to, this is an obvious statement. There was never such a thing as like days off or downtime. It's like you always got to have your head turned over your shoulder so that something doesn't fucking eat you or like stab you and like take your children away from you. Like, that's how I always feel now, is like, oh my God, there's someone around me, like, ah.
No, absolutely. And I Keaton and Cam, with you guys being in school now, I don't know if you feel this way, but when I was still doing my undergrad, you'd look forward all semester to winter break, and I'd enjoy the first like day of it, and then I'd fall into a terrible depression like the second day, because I'd like think I just want to sit around and watch TV, and then that second day of just watching TV and like drinking at home all day, I'd like enter a very dark place. Does that happen to you guys?
I guess, yeah, that happens to me for sure. I love like having like after like a busy week, whatever, having some downtime. Like I really appreciate that alone time, but I feel like, yeah, routine is necessary. That's like as much of a driving factor as like breathing, eating, sleeping. Like you need routine, you need like the reason to go to bed in the morning, because it is so easy, like just go onto your phone, just go play your instrument or whatever and just forget about your fucking day. But like that is so easy to do, and like everyone wants to do it. Like ideally, like that's what you want to do, is just like chill. And then you get to doing that. But I also feel like part of that is the brain, especially in this day and age. Like this also relates to the Buddha thing. Like the brain very much like craves what it can't have and what it doesn't have. Like the second you stimulate it with one thing, it's like everyone's attention span is really only like 25 minutes or so before you're just like this.
Yeah, we've been trained to be used to the idea of having stuff constantly thrown at us, and so when we don't have that, we're just like, well, what do we do? How do we manage not having anything in front of us? And that's kind of sad too, because like, I don't know. What do you guys remember the last time when you were able to just sit in a room and it was quiet and like you were comfortable with that? Like I really know.
That's what I've been working on lately.
Like that. Yeah.
But like when you were alone in
I'm
a
at a
quiet
spot.
room. Sorry, go ahead, Cole.
No, sorry, I was just gonna say I'm finally at a spot, or trying to get to a spot. Like I used to meditate a lot back in the day, and I just finally picked it back up. But not like 20 minutes is a long time for that. And yeah, it's weird. Like once you do start meditating, like the first couple of sessions usually for everybody like so uncomfortable, and it is like it's a weird thing. It's like, why can't I just be with myself here? But yeah, it's weird. Sorry, Cam, what were you gonna say?
A lot of those things that used to be taken as privileges are now, we feel like God-given rights. I feel like 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, having like a smartphone on you all the time was like a privilege. That's like something you had to work for. Now it's just something you like have to have to like honestly
to look at a
stay
menu
in contact
at a
with everybody else, or like pull up a menu, fucking anything. It's all on your phone now.
Yeah.
And we don't have that choice. It's not like I can just say, oh, I don't want to have a smartphone, so I'm not gonna like.
I know you used to be able to be like have the option to be quirky and like, oh, I'm gonna have a flip phone. But now like you couldn't function in America at least without one.
Yeah. Like the smartphone is very much that is a twisted tea. I knew that was a twisted tea, Julian. I asked you like an hour ago, and I don't think you heard me, but that's totally a twisted tea. But I feel like the smartphone is like the first ever invention in all of humankind. It's like literally like man-made extension of yourself. Like it is a part of you. Like
I think honestly, this might be a really long, big full circle back to the Joe Rogan podcast. I think it was Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan podcast who was talking about the theory that your smartphone, whatever device you use to connect to the electronic world, that is like an altered version of yourself. It's an alter ego. It's like a clone of you.
It is.
You exist in a totally different persona and as a totally different being online. And whether you're on Instagram right now or not, that alter ego is somewhat acting on your behalf and interacting on your behalf, acting as you, and displaying you to like everybody else. And I think we all know this. It's all pretty true and universal that no one is exactly the way they are on their Instagram page.
Exactly.
So it's just really at this point we're living with juggling two different versions of ourselves. This is the real me. This is how I interact with people on a face-to-face basis. But then there's also the Instagram me, who might be chill with telling strangers to like go fuck themselves or like, whatever it might be. The internet is strange like that. But I know the real me would never walk up to a stranger in the street and be like, oh, we have different opinions, so like go fuck yourself. Like I hate you.
Yeah. And no one ever used to put credence no one would put credence into how they behaved on the internet because it was like a fake space. But really it's another level of your consciousness. Like it's all part of your own,
and it becomes
self.
Increasingly a reflection of who you are in the real world. Going, oh, I saw this person doing this on Instagram, therefore I feel that translates to how they are in real life in X, Y, and Z ways. It's crazy.
Well, guys, that was a very inspired conversation, very deep way to end our very first podcast episode. So I think that went pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Not bad.
Good. We got a clap from Keats.
Yeah, I think Keaton's use of Zoom features and their reactions was a highlight for me. I like
Eggplant,
our album reviews. Eggplant, nice. It's sick that Zoom has the eggplant.
I know. I'm really excited about it.
So, who would like to drive the next episode? Any volunteers?
I think we should do this popcorn style. Colin, you should just You should delegate who's doing.
Okay, I
who's
delegate.
driving the next one.
All right, I'll pick Cam. Cam, you get the next one.
Is it next Sunday? I assume. Are we doing Sunday thing?
Yeah, we can record whenever. We'll put all these episodes out on Wednesdays purely for the alliteration of Wax Wednesdays.
Okay.
But we can record whenever. So if Sunday works for you guys, I think that'll work for me.
Yeah, but I'm happy to. I'll do the next one for sure.
Okay.
So are we continuing album prompt, or should I bring my own new prompt? Like everyone.
I think that's a segment we should keep constant. I like that one.
Yeah.
But
okay.
The rest of it you can pick and choose.
Okay, I'll write a few.
I liked ending with some like deeper like philosophical thing too.
Yeah, I'll prepare like a little. I'll do kind of what your
philosophy
style
like.
For sure.
But other than that, it can be whatever you want.
I'm just gonna rehearse the poems from Hobbit: Unexpected Journey.
All right, get some token up in this beach. Okay, well, cool guys. I love you.
I love you, Waxy.
Love y'all.
Dolphin love.
Have a great
happy belated
rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, see you soon.
See you soon, fellas.
Bye.
Bye.
Waxy Wednesdays with Wax Romantics.